Hello and happy Tuesday. We are having just kind of a home day where we're working on different projects. The kids just got some chores done and they then ran around and played outside, and now they're sitting down at the picnic table and doing some schoolwork. So I am working on a few projects in the house. I've got some bread to bake and some food prep to do and general cleaning. But one of the major projects I wanted to get done today was making tallow. This is some fat that we had from our cows that we finished in Maine, grass-fed their whole life, lots of fat on them. They were awesome, and I've got some lamb fat as well that I'm going to be rendering with it. I do like the mixture of the two because they both have different qualities to them that I like, and we use it for different things. So one of the things we use it for is cooking once I clean it. So that takes about, the first rendering I take out all the solids, and then the second rendering I do a cleaning to get a lot of that beefy smell away, and then I do another cleaning, and I use salt as my cleaning agent. So I do a wet render, and I do usually 2 cleanings after the first big render where I take out the solids, and that will take out all the impurities and leave me with a very white, pretty product, fat. So, and then I usually split that into 2. One we use for cooking and one we use for skincare or salve. And I make a lot of our own salves for healing benefits. Sometimes I will infuse herbs into them, like dandelions or yarrow for healing purposes. But right now I think I'm just gonna make some plain salve. I don't think I need any with any infused herbs in it. And honestly, I haven't been able to find as many of the wild crafted herbs that I collected when I was in Maine here, and I'm learning a lot of the new herbs here. Still in the learning process of what are the plant's properties, and instead of just jumping right in and trying something out, I'm just in the observation phase. But I haven't been able to find as much of the yarrow, or there was dandelion in the spring, but not as much of it as we had back home. So anyways, we've got fat to do today, and I'm very excited about it because although I don't really enjoy the task of doing this as much, I do enjoy having it around. And we've been out for about a week. We had a very busy week last week where I was helping with sheep and running around for errands and things like that. So I'm grateful to be home to be able to process this because it does take time. I do like to get it done going early in the morning so that I can take out the solids and have it sit overnight. And then the next morning I do the next stage, and then usually I can do the next stage by the afternoon of the next day, but it does need to cool all the way down. So I'll show you all the steps that I do today with the rendering fat. It's one of our favorite fats to cook with, especially when we're making fried potato in the morning or cooking potatoes on the stove or roasting potatoes in the oven. We do use it for other things. I will saute onions in it or spices before I'm cooking, especially if I'm cooking something like beef or lamb already. It doesn't have a ton of flavor to it, but it does have a different texture to it. And I have used it for baking, for pie making, but I don't typically go for that. I usually go for butter, but I do use it sometimes. So just in case you're concerned about eating my pies, usually I use butter. Anyways, I am excited. I'm gonna get to cleaning this and taking out some of that, the parts, so the cleaning doesn't take as long, and chopping this up. And then I usually put it in the crock pot and wait for it to cook down a little bit, and it's in chunks. And then if you have a meat grinder, which I do not have, you can put it through the meat grinder and make it into small pieces, which just renders it faster. But usually what I do is I throw it in the crock pot, wait for it to soften up a little bit, and then I throw the immersion blender in there and blend it up so that it can cook all the way through. Because if I leave those big chunks in there, only some of it will get rendered and I'll waste a lot. So I want it to use as much of it as I can. So I throw the immersion blender in there, blend it up, and then it's easier to take out the solids from the fat. So if you're excited as I am, then keep watching because my stories will be full of fat rendering. Okay, so this is around the time when I blend this mixture, and I'll let you see how it looks before and after. Okay, so here is the result from straining. You see it looks dark. It's actually gonna lighten up as it cools. All that dark stuff is gonna be on the bottom. It's gonna be like a gelatin broth that is the impurities and stuff like that. And so I'm gonna wait for this to cool on the counter. The kids wanna go swimming, so we're gonna go head to the pool. But and then at night, I'm gonna put this in the fridge so it gets solid on the top. And tomorrow I'll show you what it looks like, and I'll pull the broth off the bottom, scrape the bottom of it off, and then reboil it again for cleaning. And then we'll probably do that one more time, and then it'll be ready to use. All right, so this is what the tallow looks like on the top. It's kind of yellow from the beef fat color. And I'm just gonna lift it out. I need to borrow a knife. And you're gonna see the gelatin on the bottom. So I'm gonna lift that out. And all the impurities, just gonna make sure you can see, all the impurities come to the bottom here. So I'm gonna scrape that layer off, and I'm gonna dump this in the compost bucket. And then I'm going to put more water with salt in a pot, and I'm gonna reboil this again, and then I'm gonna scrape it again and take a look at it. But it's pretty easy to scrape. You just take a kind of a sharp knife and kind of go down the bottom until you can see there's a color change. And that's a lot of the impurities right there. And I'll just put that into the compost as well. So here I have chunked up the tallow, and I'm gonna put it in the pot here just to remelt, and the salt is on the bottom there to help clean it. And then we will probably do this one more time, and then I'll show you how to take all the water out of the tallow. So this is the tallow project that I started a couple days ago, and I didn't get to cleaning it for a second time today. So I'm just gonna take it out of the water here and take a look at the underside. I'm gonna put you down here so you can see. Let me get a knife to lift that out. And here we go. As you can see, the water is cleaner here and the underside here is cleaner. There's just a few brown spots right here, and so I'm gonna scrape those off. Again, very easy. And I don't have time to boil it tonight. So what I'm gonna do is just cut it into chunks and put it in a bag, and in the morning I will boil it and do this one more time, this cleaning. So you can see there's like a lighter, I don't know, maybe you can't see, but there's a lighter yellow and a darker yellow on top. So I'm just gonna scrape all that darker stuff off, put it in the compost, and chunk it up, put it in a bag for tonight, and then do it again tomorrow for boiling. Cool it, and then I will boil it one more time, this time without water in it, and I'll take all the water out of it. So that's what I'm gonna work on right now while I'm making pizzas in the background. Okay, so one thing to note, I've just scraped the bottom here, and I'm gonna chunk it up like I said I was going to. One thing to note is that when you're making tallow, when I'm making tallow, I don't dump any of my water down my drain. And I don't clean any of my utensils into my drain because this is a very solid fat, even at room temperature. And all it's gonna do is just get in your drains and clog it up. So I always make wash water and dump it outside. So this is a little bit easier sometimes to do in the summertime, although I do it in the wintertime as well. So just wanted to warn you that when you're doing this project, it's easier to just clean up outside. This is the same thing I do with my soap. And when I make my soap and I'm cleaning up, I don't drain it, dump it down my drain. So I'm just gonna bag this up for tonight and put it in the fridge. And then tomorrow morning, I will continue working on it. Hey there. So this is the final video of the tallow. I've cleaned it a few times. And like I showed you in the other video, scraped off the bottom, poured it off, reboiled it with salt to get the impurities out, and now I'm getting the water out. So I'm boiling the fat and the water is evaporating. When all the bubbles stop is when the fat will be done. And then I will pour it into a pan so then I can chunk it up, cool it, and then I will chunk it up. So I hope this is helpful, and let me know what you think.